like I wanna quit. Like I don't want the fame that seems to be coming with. But either way, I gotta do what I gotta do. So somebody hand me a slingshot and a rock or two. Bizzle, I'm going in before I go away. Hit a follow Christ, see I'm kinda like his protege. Said to let the world know be ready cause he on his way. And them cats with you ain't gon' stand with you on his day. You say you love him, huh? But what's love to you? The way we learn that love is not love to you. Understand that love is not when they come to you with death, but over a stack of put his love through you. Love won't always agree with you. We like yes men, but real men is what you need with you. Love will keep it 101. Love will watch his language in front of your son. Sometimes love what makes the homies fight for you. Sometimes it's only cause fighting is what they like to do. Love ain't helping you cheat on your wife. Love will be like go home, be with your wife. Not sit up in the living room and listen to you beat on your wife. Then come out and play Madden like it never happened. Love will tell you when you wrong, then help fix it. Love forgives, what is this? Cause this ain't love. So fickle. It's so conditional. Cause this ain't love.
Good evening, good evening, good evening, everybody. Good night, good night, good night, everybody.
This ain't love.
There comes a time in life where you just gotta
Bless you, bless you, bless you.
separate from the foolishness that you grew up
What's going on, Whitney?
There's a feeling of power you get when you grip a pistol, but it's foolish to take a life just
Cause somebody dissed you.
Now how you say it's love when you pass your man to branch and incite him to commit murder. Now we getting cash. Doing life in prison. And you don't write a visit. Your man died, you don't
Even go and see his children.
much less your own. But when I ask you why you hustle, you tell me cause you got kids, homie.
What you want? Come on.
We gotta do better homes. Go to college and put our families up in better homes. Come on, you too grown to reject what's known. Trying to reason with you, so I hope you accept this poem. Risking freedom in your life with keys to beamers and some ice. You can't be beating on your wife and teacher sees about what's right. Hope that you get to the point where you can't even sleep at night.
Y'all do me a favor, like, share. Let us know what y'all think. But this is gonna be an interesting topic. Hey, my big brother Keith Robinson. Yes, sir. Love you, man. Love you. Got Ayla Lynn in the house. Yeah.
So we can learn what nobody ever showed us, fam. This ain't love.
This ain't love.
I know you feel like it is.
Yeah.
This ain't love.
This ain't love by Bizzle.
No.
On the beat. We don't own the right to this music.
Yeah. Are you conscious?
This ain't love by Bizzle.
Step out in faith, you gotta wait. Love conquers hate. It's frustrating, I relate. But seeking perfect love within imperfect people, that was my mistake. I see now if I ain't with him, then I'm limited. My love is a gimmick, it is limits. His is infinite, mine's simple, it is simple. His is intricate. Nowadays, our idea of intimate is the internet. It's like I'm quick to say I love you if you doing for me. But if you lose what I am using, do it moving, homie. Because you were only a means to an end. That's why the Bible says be careful sharing dreams with your friends. All my bangers have love for that other crew. They got brothers who died and brought tears to their mothers too. It started with
Yes, sir.
brothers
I will. I'll call you.
on
We'll give you a
another hood.
call.
The gang of cowards misused
I
it.
will.
Look what it drug us to. They'll turn you out just to turn on you. They'll catch a case and put the burn on you. They'll say they love you, then they pass the pistol. Give you a sack of crystal if you ain't with it, and then you yap. That's the issue. How is that efficient?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So much discord, it's like we need
We just
to
waiting on for some more people to come on in.
True love will scold you to mold you. Never say I told
Tag
you, so
someone,
it will
share
hold you,
this.
but let you go.
True love will scold you, then mold you. Yes, sir. Then mold you. Listen. Oh, this song is fitting for this topic. Yes, sir.
This ain't love. That's it.
Nah.
I'm telling you, boy. I'm telling you, this conversation may be ice tonight.
We are back again.
Yes, one again.
Back again. Another father and son
Road discussion.
The father and son discussion. Man, let's talk. It is Sunday, another blessed day not promised. I hope you all have been blessed. I hope you all have been safe.
Just shout out to all the graduates.
All the graduates, shout out. We just, spent the time celebrating my dear sister and my cousin who came all the way down from the good old Alabama to celebrate them and congratulate them and wish them the best in their future endeavors. But howbeit ever, we talking about an important topic today.
Yes, yes. Love is not makeup.
Oh, come on now. Now, I ain't talking about for those who have the minds of imagination, make up sex. No, that's not what I'm talking about.
And even if it was, love is not makeup. I mean, but then again, you know, listen, we want to get into some things, and you know, we won't be able to cover everything during this particular session. And I will tell you that this just came. So just like we always tell you that we don't plan specifically what it is that we would talk about. We just ask the Lord, you know, what it is that you want to lay on our heart, and so therefore we have this discussion. And so put text.
All right.
And so we wanted to get into this thing about love. And I mean, you know, the question is very sometimes subjective. What is love?
Come on now.
You know, so now I'm asking you, you know, you my son. I know you done told plenty of people you love them.
Oh, bless them.
So, and plenty of people done told you they love you.
Oh, yes, they have.
So in your perspective, what is love to you? Or I should say, what isn't it to you?
Oh, I'm going to answer both. I like that. Oh, man, that's something that we should ask whenever we're going into dating. What isn't love? But anyway, love to me is sacrificial. Love to me is giving when I know I can use it for myself, but I'll give it to you instead. Love for me is being able to say, I see where you're wrong at, to communicate that, but help you along the way. That is what love is to me. So love is correction. Love is, yes, I'm showing grace, but I still need to address the issue. I don't believe that love is pampering your wrong. Love isn't, I'm going to turn a blind eye to the error that you're making. Love isn't, I'm going to allow you to not grow up and mature, and I'm just going to say, well, you see, they grew up like this, and not expect better. So that's what I believe. You know, I can go into deeper, but that's the basis of it. And outside of that, the Bible says that God is love. And so in understanding the nature of God, a lot of people like to say, well, didn't God say to love everybody? Yes, but we are following Christ. And so when we look at that example, he did empathize, but there was still a standard. You know, he did show grace, but he also told that woman where the Pharisees tried to bring her out and stone her, he said, well, where's those that accuse you, but yet sin no more? You know, so
now you see, for those of us that have been brought up in church, see that may sound a lot churchy.
It does.
It does sound, you know, hey, pre-coop, how you doing? That may sound a little churchy because, you know, people, like I said, sometimes love is subjective to different people.
It is.
And sometimes based on how you was raised or what you read in some fairy tale book. Maybe you grew up watching the soap operas, Young and the Restless.
What's going on, Yas?
Or The Days of Our Lives.
You know
what I'm saying? A lot of time, the truth is, most of the time we don't even know. And I think this is an honesty that we don't actually share.
Okay.
But it's one that we expect to have happen to us, even though we don't even know what it feels like. We don't know how to emulate it. We don't know the shape of it.
Yeah.
We don't know what it smells like, the way it should feel. So we have a figment of an imagination of what we think we want, and therefore expect the other person to give. But a lot of times we can't give what we don't have. And so what we do, we make up for it. We try to compensate for it. And this is why most men would rather buy something rather than have a conversation about that something. Or sometimes, or women, they would rather manipulate that something than to be straight up about that something.
Well, listen, if we go down deeper, I can't accept your love if I can't accept the Father's love.
Well, listen. There again, that can be subjective because there are mothers,
Okay.
there are fathers that genuinely love their children,
They do.
and they have no relationship with God.
That is true. So then that goes back to my definition of sacrificial.
Mm-hmm.
Because then you have somebody, they love out of a place of, I don't want them to go through what I've been through.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to make the sacrifices. I just talked to my cousin tonight, and she was telling me about how, you know, the father of her child is not in the picture, you know, due to being in a, you know,
Situation.
in a situation, you know, for those of us from the South, we know what the tent is. But yeah, not the tent, but the next level. And she was telling me how she, you know, she out there getting it and doing what she has to do because she loves her child. And so
But again, a lot of times that's makeup. See, if people like to say, well, I got to do what I got to do. A lot of times it's not because of love. And, you know, and listen, you got R&B singers that sing songs, well, love would have brought you home last night. All that kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? So it's things like that when you consider not necessarily yourself, but the other person. And sometimes that's not always a easy thing based on your perspective about that person. And so a lot of times we do things to make up for the lack. You know what I'm saying? We do that. Sometimes we choose words. We lie. You know what I'm saying? And we deceive and cheat because we're trying to make up for what's not there, or what we feel or perceive is not there. You know, because a person can say, listen, you know, your grandfather, he used to make a statement about two birds, and the male bird is fluffing all around.
Yep.
You know, I love you, I love you. And so the female bird, she just turning her head, just sitting there like, you know, okay, whatever. And he just fluffing around, I love you. And then she turns and say, prove it. Prove it. You know. And so
you know something, and I'm gonna tell you what, it's this topic, you know, from the top of my head, but it stemmed from something. I had a conversation with a friend of mine from high school, and it was in regards to a post that I had posted. There was a young lady, she was out with other people dancing, yet she was the individual, kind of like literally you can just pick her out of the bunch naked and dancing in such a way. And my response, I was really vexed because I was at work, you know, last hour or so, not doing nothing. And when I saw it, I really got angry because, for one, I'm trying to figure out how did this make it on social media. For two, why ain't nobody in their common sense are there saying, all right, baby girl, you know, you done took it a little too far. You know, let's put your clothes back on. We could turn up, but it's the right way to do it. And so then somebody comments and says, well, it seems that you're pretty engulfed in this, but where is the love? Where is the... And in my mind, I'm saying, hold on.
what love's got to do with this, what to do.
You know, because my thing was, well, first of all, if I am voicing my anger toward how this makes us look, because I said I am angry at how our people are so damaged, because if we can't see that as an issue, then that's a problem. If a person truly love you, want the best for you, it's always said that if you see me going down the road that you've been down and there's a hole in it and you don't tell me about the hole, do you truly love me?
Is because sometimes, and this don't apply to everybody, but sometimes it's not about them loving you. Sometimes they just love themselves more than you. You understand? And I'm using that term loosely.
So then is that an artificial love?
Yeah. Well, listen. For some people, it is. For some people, it's a defense mechanism. For others, it's because they've already been hurt or abused and they become numb.
So in this situation, then love can be subjective.
Well, that was the whole premise. Yeah?
And that's exactly what was one of my responses. I said, because you cannot tell me about not showing love in this regard if I'm bringing attention to it, if I am calling. I said, because granted, yes, I'm looping everything together, because what is said now is that the black man can't say anything to the black woman. So if that is the case, and that's the premise, then I'm calling all my black sisters to reject this. Why? Because this is a black sister doing it. And if all of our sisters in some form or fashion are looked in this way in a sexual manner globally, then you all are the only ones that could correct it, because evidently we can't say anything. And for some, yes, we have those collectively that will listen to the black men who are wise, and you can actually listen to the example because they lead by example. But on a global scale, in a society that we live in and with social media, it is an issue. And so when she was saying, you know, you need to show a little love, you need to be more sensitive, that ain't sensitive.
Well, see, I think that sometimes people can use love as a cop-out. It's a cop-out to negate a sense of responsibility towards mankind or towards each other. And so sometimes we can see an error or a fallacy or a flaw, and we would rather ignore it than to say something about it. Or if we do say something about it, we say something to ourselves
and then brush it off,
and not to the person that should actually hear it. Sometimes some people's version of love cause them to become cowards. You know what I'm saying? You know, sometimes some people's version of love cause them to be cowards, because what they should say they won't say, and what they ought to say they water down or minimize what need to be said. And we see that's deep, because the thing is, then somebody would say, well, if you love me, you would just say what's on your mind. Well, not always true, but now listen, that's a good thing, but that's not always true, because Paul made a statement that all things is lawful, but all things is not expedient.
Now, for those that ain't been in church long enough,
well, just because I can say something don't always mean I should say something. Okay, now, again, love is not blind. Contrary to popular belief, love is not blind.
All right.
Love is not stupid. Well, let me say, God's love. And the love that Scripture tells us is not stupid, is not naive, it's not crazy.
And love, according to Scripture, is not this gospel song that talk about the reckless love of God. It ain't reckless either.
No.
Love is intentional.
Yes, it is very intentional. It's purposed, and there is a method for it. And so therefore, but again, we as people, we make up stuff as we go along. We make up different versions or variations of love. We compartmentalize it, and we put categories to it. So therefore, we try to compare whose love is better than who, or who loves more than who. We try to compete whether or not this person loved me more than this person, because if you love me, you'll buy me a 4-carat ring.
See,
you know what I'm saying?
I think the delusion is that if you love me, you would allow.
Well, listen, again, just because I said this on the last time we had this, just because I like you don't mean I gotta sleep with you. You understand that? And just because I love you don't mean I gotta sleep with you. And so love is discipline.
There we go.
Love is discipline. It is self-control. It's not about what somebody else make you do or what they don't make you do. It's about what you're able to control yourself from doing. And it's not manipulative. So a lot of times, when we look at things, we really gotta, again, most of our conversations is to believers. It's to those that say that we got a relationship with God, or we got some form of relationship with God. So therefore, a lot of our conversations is tailored to people like us. And so, does this conversation always happen in the four corners of our church?
No.
It doesn't. And so because of that, love can be skewed. Okay, it can be perverted.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And so when we see this, what am I making up to compensate for true love? You know, what value do I place on it? And so Jesus made a statement that if you love me, then you will keep. So now for him, for God, as far as God is concerned, that is the acid test for any believer. That if in fact we do love God, we will keep his commandments. There is no, people like to put prerequisites to things or put things under condition. There is no condition based on this. You understand? He says that if you do, then this is what you will do. Okay? And so,
you know, it's no different than the bird analogy that you used. And yet we have conditions even in relationships.
yeah.
If you love me, like you said, you know, either prove it or you would do this. And so when it comes to the topic is love is not makeup. And if you really understand and digest what that is, just simply look at it in this terms. When a woman uses makeup, oftentimes she either enhances or essentially what we're talking about is cover up the blemishes.
Well, you know, that's what mascara is. It's mascara.
It's a mask.
It's mascara.
Yeah.
So, but listen, men do it too. You know what I'm saying? Men, so this is not just a woman thing, but men do it too much, which is the problem.
And what you just said, because makeup can be a mass error, what is happening is when it comes to love, especially when it comes to our men, so yes, I'm holding men accountable, do not cover up your wrong. Do not cover up your inadequacy. Step up to the mark.
Acknowledge it. Let them see them. And this is what the Bible says: confess your faults one to another, so that you may be healed.
Yeah.
So if we're just honest, put your cards out on the table. This is what it is. And listen, it doesn't mean that the other person's going to like what you have to say. But at least if you're honest and it's coming from a place of love, then everything else will take care of itself. You know, but you should at least love enough to be truthful with yourself first. Love enough to be honest with yourself first. Because that's the first love. It's to you first.
To you first. Come on now.
And then to the other person. God, because of the love that he had, because God is love, this is how he was able to demonstrate his love to us. Because he was loved first. And so he demonstrated his love towards us. So men, when we love us first, love yourself first, then you're able to demonstrate that love to the other individual. Women, if you love yourself first, then you're able to demonstrate your love toward the other. And again, I'm telling this, there's a lot that can be said about this, of course. I mean, there's no way that we can address every nuances of this particular topic at this time, but it is something to consider. That love is what love does. And so it has nothing to do with...
Can you say that again?
Love is what love does. And it's not so much as the big things. Sometimes it's just the little things. It's just the little simple things. And it's, whether you could be dead broke and still demonstrate love. You can when I tell you, I think that as men, we feel some type of way when we're not able to, quote unquote, buy stuff. But can you imagine if you had a deeper resources in your mind, deeper resources in your heart?
I'm gonna tell you one of the reasons why I think some men fall victim to this. Even I had at one point, and still struggle with, even in my relationships, is because for the time period where my mom kept me from you, she bought me things. And her form of buying me things was actually buying my love. And you always, when we had our, I'm going to be transparent for a moment. When we had our, whenever we had the guidance counselor and you're trying to figure out, well, why is it that you can open up to the white person or the counselor, and I had expressed to you in recent years that, well, it's because they weren't trying to get something out of me. It was a genuine interaction, and I couldn't distinguish what had already been planted versus the present. And so sometimes us men, we translate that as we grow into our relationships. We figure, okay, well, we value things in monetary things. So our value is like, okay, well, if I buy this for her, she would love me. Instead of really growing to understand her. And then that's when sometimes you hear the female say, well, I don't want your money, I just want quality time with you. But in us, we can't calculate that. We like, something is off. Because on social media, you got the woman saying, well, he gotta have this, he gotta have that, he gotta have, and so we just like, okay, well, we can go ahead and provide it, but for the real woman, it don't click that way for, you know, and it doesn't cross over. And so it just takes us really dying away from the trauma or whatever experience, or really just adapting and adjusting.
Well, we can all listen. We are creatures of habit, and sometimes we can adapt too much until we can lose ourselves.
And yep.
And so sometimes, you know, we have to really understand that, you know, when it comes to this conversation can be really deep. It can be it can be really vast based on how you come, you know, of what angle you choose to come from, you know, in this. But at the end of the day, you got to ask yourself, what am I making up? What am I trying to hide? What flaw, what insecurity, what failure, what lack, you know, am I hiding why I can't really demonstrate real love? You know, do I even know what that means? Do I understand, you know, what it looks like? You know, can you show me an image? Can you show me a picture? Is it in a movie? Is it in a book? Is it in a song? Like, you know, and so this is why I encourage every believer. You want to know love? Get in God's word. And hey, listen, I encourage my son all the time. Listen, you can't. And one of the things that I told my son, that if when it comes to you looking for a wife, you got to know how to deal with your mama. If you don't know how to deal with your mother, then you're not going to know how to deal with your wife.
And part of the reason, as far as the men in today and age, is because the mother has not really taught her son to be a son. See, we can't ignore the fact that mothers now treat their son as if he's her second option lover.
No, and he can't be treated like a slave either. But I don't want to deviate from that. I agree. If a man cannot treat his mother as he should, he gonna have a hard time treating his quote unquote significant other, a woman, with respect and love as he should. And so we oftentimes hear the saying, you know, what's done in the house, whatever you do in the house, you do in public. And so this is true when it comes to relationships. But see, this is why y'all sisters gotta vet properly. And this go for the man too. But since we're talking about men, I'm in agreement. I'm definitely in agreement. Well, listen, once again, like I said, there's a lot that can be said, and we'll come back in part 2 about love and makeup. And so this stuff, you know, again, until then, just let's consider where we are. You know, and with this topic, you know, and what does love cause you to do? You know, how does it cause you to react or respond? You know, and so we'll talk about this again. You know, listen, I know the time is going and we're not going to keep you. So I thank you for lending us your ear, inviting us into your home or wherever you may be. This is another father and son road discussion. I love you, son. I appreciate the man that you're coming in to be. And I anticipate you loving your wife.
Oh, bless him.
Even as Christ loved the church.
Huh? Gotta put your hand. But listen, guys, definitely tune in. Let us know what you think. If you have topics that you would like us to talk about, definitely DM us. And thank y'all for y'all support. Be safe.
Yes, peace. May God bless y'all.
Love you.